All right, we are live. What is good, BYL? This is our second iteration of the power rankings. Season 1, week 10. We did a week 4. This will likely be our last power rankings. With how fast we've been moving, we're looking to get to week 11 tonight. And I don't think we'll really do another one by next Sunday because we'll be in the bowl game situation around then. So there's no point to do a rankings. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Go ahead and talk, Brent. I gotta mute myself for a second, bro.
Yeah, I think like he was saying, this probably will be our last one. If we can, I know that we had the Army Navy game now. That might slow us up a little bit to be able to squeeze one more power rankings in there, but I doubt it. And it really depends on how many more 24-hour advances that we do get between now and the Army Navy game. Obviously, um, this man was rushing me, and we ain't even ready.
My fault, y'all. That was work calling me. What did you say? If I missed it, I'm sorry.
I
I
was
didn't have
just
my
talking
headset on.
about the rankings and stuff like that, like how we might not be able to pull another one in.
Yeah, because I mean, we're gonna see who gets in the playoffs. We're gonna see the rankings and stuff like that. The game puts in, so there's no point to make another one for real. When you guys get in here, please comment. Zach, tag everybody in the chat so everybody knows that we started. There's only 5 people. 16 people put a thumbs up, and I literally said I didn't want to do it if there's only be 5 people in here. We should have just put out the rankings. So if we don't get a good amount of people in here, we're just going to post the rankings, bro. I'm not going to waste my time and not have a bunch of people in here doing this. Waste 45 minutes of my damn life. I got a dinner to go to soon. So hopefully people pop in here. We can also just blaze through it, but I feel like that defeats the purpose of it, to be honest. If I'm going to give it effort, I want to make sure that I give effort. It's not just some BS. I know there's a few games. Yeah, I saw. Brandon, let's just go ahead and get underway.
Yeah,
So we're
there's
not
4
waiting.
people playing.
Let's just go. All right, number 32. Did not change for me. Washington State. Obviously Marquise Camp going through I'm not even call it a rebuild. He's kind of going through what I'm going through right now. The only difference is I'm winning games, but he's going through identity crisis, and that's the same thing I'm going through.
Yeah,
I've used 4 playbooks in 7 games, so I feel his pain. He's just not able to get over that hump with that team. We talked personally, and I think he's kind of ready to wash his hands clean of Washington State and go somewhere else. So hopefully he's able to do that and get a different job. I know this was with how we did our team picking. He just said Washington State and didn't think they were going to be open, so he got stuck with them. So I know he probably didn't really want to be there, but he got forced there with how we picked the team. So yeah, that's where I have at 32.
Yeah, I have him at 32 as well. He's just got to figure it out somehow. I mean, he probably will get fired, so he probably will get a chance to go somewhere else. But if I had to guess, wherever he ends up at might be worse than Washington State. So hopefully he tries to figure it out there, and he got a 4-star recruit already. So hopefully he just rebuilds Washington State into the program that he wants them to be, versus getting fired over and over until you find out where you want to be at.
All right, moving on to number 31. It takes forever to click. This is where I have USF and Leo Deguchi. I don't know if he's won a game since our last ranking. So obviously, before we keep going, I want to make sure that I say this. When I make my rankings, me personally, it's a what have you done for me lately? So we made our rankings before, and I built on that. So it's not. I know before, like we would just wash our hand clean, and whoever has the best resume right this second. I didn't do that this time. So obviously USF was a lot higher before, but I don't think he won a game since our last rankings. So right now he's on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, whatever it is. So I factored that into it. I think that's a big deal. Some people are on a 4 or 5 game win streak, so they skyrocketed into my rankings. So that's just the way I made it. But that's how I have Leo here. I know he's on vacation right now. He's in the middle of switching jobs and stuff, so his attention's not really focused solely on his team, which is understandable. But I think he just has to kind of turn it around. I know this is a school that he wanted to be at. This is one of the better schools. He was my draft winner. So I really don't think getting fired here is going to be helpful at all. So hopefully he's able to win some games so that way he can avoid that because he's the only school in Florida. So he needs to take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah, I have Leo Deguchi here as well. He was, I want to say, 1-1 or 1-0 when we did our first rankings, and he hasn't won a game since. And that was kind of the deal breaker for me. Outside of Washington State, he's probably in the second worst slump right now. and he's has a really good team. So hopefully he figures it out. I know I've seen a couple people on the hot seat. I don't really remember if it was him or not, but that's definitely a school you don't want to be at when it comes to being in like job contention and stuff like that because they will get rid of you. Same with Tulane and Memphis. So this is one of those schools that you definitely want to figure it out at, and especially being the only team in Florida, like Steven said. So hopefully he figures it out.
All right, moving on to number 30. This is where I have Alberto and Texas State. This is probably the most shocking thing to me in BYL. We played so many times in CFB 25. I did not expect him to have this poor of a start. Now, I mean, there's still a lot of season left to be played. So, I mean, he can still turn it around and get to bowl eligibility, but he has a steep mountain to climb, that's for sure. And I know this is not where he wants to be. A lot of the situation comes from lag and desync, so it's kind of hard to get momentum when you feel like you have to restart the game 2 or 3 times just to finish the damn fourth quarter. So I understand that him and Fresno both deal with that. And I don't know what's up with their game or their servers. I don't know what it is, or them with the league. I don't know. But it's definitely something that hinders him, I feel like. And I'm not gonna say that's the reason he's 1-6, because at the end of the day you're still playing, but definitely can be deflating and demoralizing when you know at some point in the game it's going to desync and you're gonna have to restart. So this is where I have him at 1-6. He has a lot of work to do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I have. Yeah, I have him here as well. I know his internet had a couple of issues, like you said at the beginning, but I think he's been fine lately. He just got to figure his team out. He had a pretty rough little stretch with users for the last few weeks, but I feel like he'll once he gets a couple wins under his belt, it'll start to ride from there. It's hard to get your team going whenever you were lagging like at first, and then you come in and you're just trying to figure everything out. Like he blew a lead just trying to figure his players out. So he'll figure it out. This is definitely one of the surprises. I thought he would bounce back from the first ranking, but it's a lot of elite coaches right now struggling to get it going.
Definitely. All right, moving on to number 29. Maybe if it clicks at number 29, this is where I have New Mexico. Um, really tough. We're in the, and I say we because I'm in the Mountain West as well. We're in the weakest conference, and when this ranking got made, he hadn't won a game yet. So excuse me. So that definitely played a factor in why I felt like he was at number 29. Got to get on the board in the conference. Just in a slump right now as well. The Lobos are a very hard team to use. So he got stuck with a team that is not really in a good recruiting hotbed. Doesn't really have a lot of talent. So definitely one of the tougher rebuilds of anybody in here as far as where everybody chose. Because like I said, recruiting is not the hottest. You're not going to have transfer portal, interest and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what Weeks does here and try to turn this program around.
I have New Mexico State here or Mexico here as well. He just hasn't been able to figure it out. His 2 wins came from a CPU. I would like to see him play a lot better against users. He has a really hard team to play with, obviously. I think he's probably one of the more users right now that kind of wants a fresh start. And it probably wouldn't hurt him to go somewhere else just because New Mexico was such a bad situation to be in. If he ends up staying there and turns that program around, it'd definitely be one of the harder challenges to complete in BYL. So hopefully he does figure it out, but I think he probably wants a fresh start himself at this point.
Alrighty, at number 28, this is where I have Dane and Fresno State. So I know a lot of people were interested to see where he would fall. Kind of the same. Sorry, I heard my son screaming. Kind of the same situation as a few of the others. Like you've been on a losing streak the entire time since we did the last rankings, and I factored that into it. You were 2-2 in our last rankings. I think I had you in the top 12, if I'm not mistaken, or top 13. So you had a couple of really bad losses, and obviously was a talk of BYL for a while. So I have you at 28 here for Fresno State.
Yeah, at number 28, I have Western Kentucky. Um, he had that big win week 0 against Dev, and since then he really hasn't been able to kind of figure it out. Lost. He had a 1 point win against. Come in there right quick. He had a 1 point win against USF, but he's kind of been struggling a little bit to get going. I'm still really high on him. He's racking in some recruits. I don't think Western Kentucky's willing to get rid of him. But I mean, he just got to figure it out. He's definitely a good enough user to kind of turn this around.
All right, at number 27, maybe. This is where I have Southern Miss. Trill, again, one of the biggest surprises in BYL to this point. Just not really been able to get things going with that team. I know he started off 1-6, so he might have been, was he 0-5? I forget what he was, but oh man, he was definitely wasn't 0-5.
He had one
But
win last time.
yeah, he's trying to kind of turn it around. I'm not sure if he won this week. I don't remember, but so excuse me, Jesus. But he's definitely going to have to figure it out. He was, the quote unquote program builder alongside Fred Porter last year. So definitely a tough start. But I think if anybody can build a team, it's him. So interested to see kind of what he does and what he makes of this season going forward.
Yeah, I have Memphis here. I just feel like he had that win against the big win against Temple, and then he obviously kind of beat up on Dev a little bit to kind of ruin his stride. He was really hot in the conference and kind of knocked him back a little bit, but he had some losses in here that kind of haven't been able to get him going. And there's other people on this board that I feel like have better wins than him because he definitely plays people really hard.
All right, moving on to number 26. This is where I have Rice. So Rice was, I think, 1-5 at one point. So he is coming off of a win. He may either a win or a loss in this ranking. It did not factor in week 10. It was only through week 9. But I think had he won that game of the week, or I don't even know if it was game of the week against you, but had he won that game against you, I think he'd be a lot higher on this list. But I think 2-6, and more specifically 1-4 in conference is what hurt him on my ranking. Just a lot of close losses, and at the end of the day, you got to be able to win those games. There's a lot of users in here who are 5-2 or 6-1, and all their wins are by 1 or 2 possessions, like me. So you got to figure out a way to win those games. I could easily be where Rice is, and he could easily be where I am. You just got to be able to kind of put 4 quarters of football together, and he hasn't been able to do that just yet. So that's why I have him at 26.
At 26, I have Fresno State. Um, he's on a 4-game losing streak right now. He has to figure it out. He had the big win over Oregon State that kind of helped him out a little bit, and he beat Army right before that. But then he just kind of had some couple of big losses that kind of just he couldn't get bounced back from, and hopefully he can get him. I think he got a win underneath his belt this week, so that probably help him kind of get his confidence back up and see if he can't win a couple more games. But right now he just can't get it going.
Alrighty, at number 25, this is where I have Western Kentucky for all the same things you said. Started off really hot. I think he had BYL buzzing after that win against Fresno State, or not Fresno State, La Tech. I think he won by like 17 points in that game or something crazy. So he definitely had the league buzzing, and then kind of fizzled out. I know he was on vacation, so he wasn't able to play at home and the comfortability of his own setup and stuff like that, which I understand. I get that plays a factor. But I don't think he's a 2-5 type user, so I think he has to turn it around. But this is where I have him. I have him at 25.
Number 25 is where I have Southern Miss. He was coming off a win when I did this, trying to get it together. Um, he's struggling right now. I don't know what's going on in Mississippi right now, but he's a lot better than what he is. And like you said, he's one of the better program builders in here. And hopefully he can figure it out and kind of get this thing going.
All right, at 24, this is where I have Memphis. Memphis was looked at as one of the bottom users in this conference going into the season. That's no disrespect. That's just how everybody viewed it. And he has 2 really good wins, and obviously he has some close losses. So this is why I felt like he should be above the people I have him above. And this has all been, within that last power ranking cycle. I believe that's when he beat Temple. If not, it was right before the last power rankings. And then who else did he beat?
He only has one win since the last one. He beat Temple to kind of get him onto the board for our first one. And I think his only win this time was La Tech.
Okay. Which I think both are pretty good wins. So that's why I have him here. He's 1-3 in conference. So I think his conference championship kind of aspirations are out the window, but he could definitely play spoiler, and he's proven that he can compete with the top of the conference. So that's why I have him here.
This is where I have Rice. I feel like he plays people really hard. He got a lot of close games. He just can't get it going. One of the reasons why I was a little higher on him was just the fact that Memphis was coming off a loss at Southern Miss, and Southern Miss just came off a loss to Bryce. Um, so I just feel like judging them off their little common opponents in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I feel like he already beat Southern Miss, and Rice was just coming off a loss to Southern Miss. So that's the only reason why I was pretty this much high on Bryce, because he definitely is struggling right now. And I think his only wins is Dane week 0, and then I want to say Southern Miss, which is a 2-7 team right now. So definitely doesn't have the strongest resume.
Alrighty, at number 23, this is where I have SDSU, 2-2 in the Mountain West, 3-5 overall. Had a big loss to Colorado State, if I'm not mistaken. I could be remembering wrong, but I think he had a big loss to Colorado State. Did he?
Yeah, he did. He got blown out in game of the week.
Yeah, so I think that's why I have him this low. I mean, 3-5 and 2-2 is a lot better than the teams we've seen so far. But I think when you lose on the big stage like that and how you lose matters. So that's where I have Trey. I have him at 23. He just took a tough loss today to Utah State as well. So he's definitely reeling right now. I think he has to win out to go be bowl eligible at this point. So he's definitely got to kind of get it together in San Diego.
Yeah. This is where I have Army. He's coming off two of the most exciting weeks of BYL right now. He knocked off an undefeated Liberty, and then he also beat a JMU team who everybody was really hot on. He just got to keep it going. Obviously, we've seen him lose every week, but he just got to keep it going.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. He obviously came off a win to JMU, who was people was obviously excited on, but he just got to figure it out. He was a little too hot, and he obviously lost today, but that's not on this ranking. He's got to keep going.
All right, moving on to number 22. This is where I have Army and Coach Fredo. You guys might ask, why is he above Trey at 2-5? And that's because he beat an undefeated Liberty, and then he beat JMU, and both of those two teams were in my top 4 last week when we did the power ranking. So he has a really good resume for being 2-5. Obviously, he has 5 losses, but those 2 wins can probably stack up with anybody else's 2 wins in here, at least close. So I like him here at 22. If he can just kind of get the ball rolling and get to bowl eligibility, I mean, I think that'd be a win for him. He started off 0-4, so he's doing a lot better than he started, that's for sure.
Yeah. This is where I have Boise State. He just got to really figure it out, honestly. He has one of the better teams, and I don't think he won a game. He had one of these wins or a fair sim big win over Michigan, obviously. That's kind of probably what kind of hurt him a little bit, but he hasn't really been able to figure anything out in Boise State right now. So hopefully he figures it out. He has a really good team. I don't really have much on this one.
All right, 21. This is where I have North Texas and Coach Franco. He was very hard to rank for me, just because it's been such an up and down season. A lot of games he could have pulled off, a lot of games he could have lost. So very up and down. But I think what the deciding factor for me was the 1-3 in conference. The MAC is such a loaded conference. There's so many teams that we still haven't talked about yet on these rankings, and there's no way I can have him above those teams with that 1-3 on the right hand side. So Franco's another one of those guys where I feel like he can compete with anybody in the league. He just has to kind of put 4 quarters of football together and stay disciplined and just kind of, like I said, finish 4 quarters of football. It's not one in the first and second quarter or third quarter. I feel like he has the most like last second losses that I've ever seen in my life, and I don't know what it is. When I say last second, I mean the last couple of minutes of the game. I feel like he kind of plays like there's nothing on the line, and I mean it's good sometimes, but you definitely want to win these games. So 3-4. I think, like I said before, I think the conference championship hopes are out the window, but definitely could play spoiler, and I think he will spoil somebody's either, one loss season, perfect season, whatever you want to call it, in conference, but he's going to get somebody just because that's the style of play he has.
Number 21, I have SDSU, 2-2 in conference. He just came off a win against Fresno State, kind of to get him going with his confidence. Hopefully he can build from there and get it going. Obviously, he really enjoys his team and likes where he's at. So that's one thing that's good with him, bringing in a couple recruits. Hopefully, Trey can kind of build from here. I know he has a loss this week. That was pretty bad, but he's been able to bounce back from losses. He had a really tough schedule, and hopefully he figures it out.
All right, moving on to number 20. At number 20, this is where I have Oregon State. I feel like this is one of the more underappreciated users so far in the cycle. He's 4-4, so he's played a lot of games. Only 1-3 in conference, so I had to knock him for that. But he just had a big win in game of the week. This week, I want to say it was this week against Nevada. He won by like 40 points. So that's going to be big for him. He's 2-3 now in conference, and Nevada was undefeated in conference. That's a big loss for Nevada and a big win for Oregon State for his momentum. So he's sitting at 5-4 now. So already 9 games into his season, and 1 game away from bowl eligibility. I know he wants to be a little bit more than bowl eligible, obviously, but I think if he's able to finish this season 8-4, then I don't think he gets fired. I don't even think he's on the hot seat at that point, because I don't think Oregon State's expectations were anywhere near 8 wins. So I think Rayshawn Caraway is in a really good spot with this team. He has one of the better programs. Them in Washington State were in a good spot as far as being above everybody else. I mean, Boise State as well. I mean, when it comes to recruiting and team grades and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be a dangerous player in the Mountain West for the next couple of seasons if he stays here, just because he has an advantage over teams like New Mexico and Utah State and stuff like that.
Yeah. At number 20, I have North Texas. Like you said, he was kind of hard to judge. He has a lot of up and downs. He had the big win against Texas. He had the comeback win against myself. He has good wins and he has bad losses. So it was kind of just hard to judge him. And like you say, he's gonna catch somebody at some point and spoil your season. And it probably end up coming back to haunt me later on down the road. But yeah, I mean, he's somebody that watch out for. I feel like he's one of the more underappreciated users in here as well, just because what he's capable of doing. But his season right now is just so up and down. He just got to figure it out.
All right, moving on to number 19. Number 19, this is where I have Boise State. Same thing you said. I think 2 of his games were sims at this point. The game this week was like connection issues as well, so sim. But he definitely needs to figure it out. This is a team that everybody crucified me for last year and said that it was such a great team and you're in such a good situation. Boise State is a really good team, so got to be better than 3-4. I think he had the 3rd best odds to win the conference. It's not. I mean, his odds to win the conference aren't completely over, but he has 3 losses now, so he definitely needs some work and some help, because Utah State is undefeated in conference still. I think I have a 1 loss, UNLV has 1 loss, and Nevada has 1 loss. So he needs a lot of chaos to happen in the back end of the season. So it's not all over, but Boise State definitely needs to figure out the rest of the year, the second half.
At number 19, this is where I have Oregon State. He's sitting at 4-4. He had a couple conference losses, but he's been able to kind of get somebody, and then he'll lose the next week. He just kind of got to get it going. It's kind of like tough to kind of see the Oregon State, Washington State, and like Boise State, the 3 like better teams that people really wanted coming into the cycle, to be so like down 19 and below. And those are really good teams that people really wanted, and hopefully they can figure it out. I know Oregon State and Rayshawn Caraway is probably going to be more of a problem than the other 2. And I think he'll be able to figure it out quicker than a lot of other people can.
All right, number 18, drum roll, please. This is where I got Toledo and Coach Mike Jones. You are getting no respect from me in this power rankings when you walked out on your team, and then you walked out on the people who voted on your ass. So I want to make sure that you understand that. I had you at number 1 in the first power rankings, bro. Number 1. And you're going to sit here and act like you don't care about it. So I promise you, you're going to have to go undefeated for getting the damn number 1 spot on my damn list again. So you fell 17 spots for me. You were 4-0, if I'm not mistaken, or 3-0 in the power rankings when we first started. And you are, what, 1-4 since then. So, I mean, I don't think it's crazy that you fell this far, because a lot of teams that were behind you are on winning streaks. And I know you're not technically on a losing streak. But in your last 6 games, you've won 1 or 2 games. So that's what I factored into this. And it's a sour taste in my mouth when I'm over here advocating for your ass and you don't even advocate for yourself. But we're not even going to get into that. That's who I have at number 18.
Yeah, number 18, I got La Tech. Yeah, man, I'm pretty surprised at this point. I know me and Dev, we were both struggling at the beginning of the first rankings. I fully expected him to kind of turn it around at this point. And he's on a 2-game losing streak to his rankings. Hopefully he can figure it out. There's still a lot of season left. I mean, he only has 2 conference losses, so it's not really over. Because I do feel like we're going to beat up on ourselves still. Still 4 or 5 games left for a lot of people in conference. So I think he still has the opportunity to kind of bounce back. But he does have a a hard slate coming. He has myself and I think Tulane obviously on his schedule. So hopefully he can figure it out.
All right, number 17. This is where I have JMU. So Toledo, you're not the only one. I mean, you fell back just as far. JMU, I think for my ranking was in the top 4. Could be wrong, but I think he was in the top 4. He falls back like 15 something spots. He was again like 3-1, I think. I'm only a 7 overall team. I'm cool. There's higher teams than low, but we big chilling. Yeah, I mean, you keep saying 71 overall team. I don't know why. What does that have to do with walking out on your goddamn ball club? Anyways, I'm done talking to Mike Jones. I'm done talking to Mike Jones. I got a 69 overall team, by the way, and I don't ever walk on my guys. Just
Right,
letting you
my
know.
team's a 67.
Like,
And
come
my
on, bro.
defense is 66, and I want to walk on down them motherfuckers every
Come
goddamn
on,
week.
bro. Like, we run through a wall for our team.
Yeah.
Just remember, I'm gonna remind you. Anyways, JMU at 4-3. Lost one. He's 1-3 in the last, or 1-2 in the last 4 or 5, 6 weeks, however long. So definitely needs to get it together. I don't know if he played this week. I don't remember. I think he played early this morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he
But
played last night against Toledo, and Toledo had a pretty big win against them.
what's up, Savage? Yeah, so definitely got to get together because he was a top 4 user in the first power rankings.
This is where I have Temple. He did have the big win against App State, well, later win, obviously against App State. I feel like he has to kind of get it going, and he hasn't really found his rhythm yet. I know I seen him play Navy, and he came out like flex bone. He's probably still trying to find his identity as well. Super high on Justin. He'll probably figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have Temple here too. That's why I just went through, by the way. I had Temple here as well. A couple of big wins to move himself up the rankings. I don't have much else to say about him. I'll let him do his own talking.
Yeah.
But I know he lost today to ECU, but he had the big win at App State yesterday. So definitely season in kind of back and forth mode.
This is where I have Colorado State. He was really starting to get it going. 3-1 in conference. Had a couple of big wins. And he's really rolling right now. I'm not sure what had happened to him this week or if he won or lost, but 3-1 in conference, and we've seen another team get knocked off. So he's right in there in conference contention. He already played you. So can he keep the ball rolling? We'll have to see. He was 0 I want to say 0-4 on our first rankings, and he's really just playing his best football right now.
Yeah, he was either 0-3 or 0-4, and he beat the CPU today, and now he is 500, by the way. So he's on a complete win streak right now.
Yeah. Shout out to Colorado State, man.
Number 15, we have La Tech. This is where I have Dev Rufus. Obviously played me early on. Played Savage in this rankings, if I'm not mistaken. So 2 of his losses come from top 5 teams, respectively. And then he also lost to Western Kentucky, who's obviously lower. And then who was his 4th loss? Memphis. It was Memphis, yeah. So definitely another one of those guys who are kind of back and forth, but has the potential to beat anybody. Hence why he was a part of the game of the week last week. I know he was a 10-point underdog, but I think he only lost by 7 points, if I'm not mistaken. So he covered the spread. But this is where I have La Tech at 15.
At 15, this is where I have Utah State. He was kind of hard to judge because he's playing such good football right now. He's 3-0 in conference. It just some of those losses that he took earlier were kind of pretty bad losses, and he was the games wasn't really that close. But right now he's obviously on a win streak, and he's really got the ball rolling, and it's only up from here for Utah State.
All right, at 14, I have another Mountain West team. I have UNLV and Coach Fred, 4-3 and 2-1 in conference. A big player in the Mountain West at this point. He's now 5-3 and 3-1 in conference after today. So I think he needs one thing to go his way. He just needs to beat Utah State. I mean, he controls his own destiny to a certain extent, I think, because I think if he beats Utah State and all 3 of us win out, it's a 3-way tie because we all beat each other. So I don't know how that's going to work. But I think he controls his own destiny. I know he was saying that in one of his recaps. Has one of the better teams, a really explosive quarterback in Orgy. I had to play on the road at him last week before this rankings. I won 23-20. So he's definitely going to be a handful when you're looking at teams that you have to play week in and week out. And he still has a couple of good games left on his schedule. So I'm excited to see where he goes up from 14 or back from 14.
Number 14 has to have UNLV here as well, all for the same reasons. He'll figure it out. He's played you and me, and then he played a pretty tough CPU that he went for on 2-point conversion on to try to win. He'll definitely figure it out. Obviously, going to be one of the hard users to get by, especially whenever we start getting rolling in conference.
All right, number 13. This is where I have Colorado State. I'm very high on Colorado State. If you go back and watch the last power rankings, I was very high on him. He was 0-3 or 0-4. He hasn't lost a game since. He's 3-1 in conference. The one loss coming against me in a very close game. I think I beat him by 10, 24-14, if I'm not mistaken, or 34-24, one of the two. So he's gonna a tough out, and now he's 4-4, and he's 4-1 in conference. He just beat Wyoming. Well, Wyoming is not a conference game. I don't think. I think it's just a protected rivalry.
Yeah.
So he's 4-4 and 3-1 in conference. Another person who controls his own destiny. He just needs to win out, and we're gonna have a bunch of one-loss teams at the end if that's the case. So, very excited to see what Red Smith can do. I think he's turning some heads in the Mountain West. I don't know who he plays next week, but being 4-4, but more importantly, being 3-1 in conference is big. Because you're putting yourself in a position to have a chance to win the conference. And that's all you can ask for when you're heading into week 11.
Yep. At number 13, I have Toledo. I don't have nothing really to say about him. We can keep it moving.
Damn, that's
Absolutely
how you feel?
embarrassment of a coach out there. I can't believe I lost to him.
At number 12, I have App State. A couple of tough losses. I know he had the loss to Temple yesterday, right before the rankings. That loss came down to execution at the end of the day. I know he was upset in his post-game press conference. He was upset about the rule, saying like, why did I have to punt on 49-yard line on 4th and 3, but he can go for it on 4th and 5 from his 20. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it was the fourth quarter, he could go for it. Everybody plays by the same rules. You got to be able to make that coaching kind of adjustment and change and notice it on the fly. But I also don't think, like, in that situation, I don't think there is a right answer. Like, could you have called a timeout and forced a punt? Yes, but it's 4th and 5 on the 20-yard line. Like, if you get that stop, you're in better position than if you were to call a timeout and force a punt. So, at the end of the day, I think you still put yourself in a position to win. But yeah, I mean, I think he's 4-4 now. If I'm not, or 4-3. He's playing. Did he already play his game?
He hadn't played his game yet. No.
Yeah, so 4-3. So, I mean, you have 2 losses in conference. So everything is still in front of you. I mean, there's no reason to hang your head now. You're screaming, we here. Do you guys still be here and continue to win? USF, that's right. You got USF. Yeah. But just continue to win. That's all you can do. I think you had a close loss to LSU early in the season. That was fluky. And then you lose to Temple by 2-3 points after an onside kick. And I don't know who the other loss was
Coastal. It was Coastal, and it was a pretty close game too.
Yeah, Coastal. And Coastal is absolutely a buzzsaw right now. So, I mean, you just got to, like I said, just tip your cap, keep it pushing. You're on a good groove right now, and just see how your season kind of progresses.
At number 12, I have JMU. I wasn't trying to punish him too much. I know he just came off back-to-back losses, and he had the loss against Army. But we've seen his offense be very explosive at times. He has big wins, and he has an opportunity to just kind of bounce back. I'm pretty high on this conference in general. I feel like they're the SEC of the BYL right now. They just play a lot of hard users, and it's going to be a lot of each other that beat up on each other. They have to all play. So that's why I got JMU at 12.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. At number 11, just where I have Utah State. He beat me, obviously. Hold on, I got to sneeze one more time. Maybe. Let's go. Sorry. But he beat me. He started off 0-4, 0-4 maybe? Or I know he's 1-4 at least. He beat me when he was 1-4. Then he's won, 2 consecutive games against SDSU, and he also beat Boise, I want to say, in a force win, if I'm not mistaken.
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Okay, I know it was one of the teams, but undefeated in conference. He leads the Mountain West right now. So right now, I mean, he does more than control his own destiny. If he doesn't lose a game, then he gets in and he has a chance to compete for the conference championship. I mean, if he drops a game, then that's when things get tricky out west. But right now, I think he is one of the hottest teams in BYO. Handing someone who hadn't lost yet their first loss and then continued to stay perfect in conference play, I had to give a reward for that. Although you have 4 losses, I think you're humming right now. So I like where he's at right now.
At number 11, this is where I have Nevada. At the time, he was also humming, undefeated in conference. That's why I was high on Ajami the last rankings. I thought that he was being a little disrespected a little bit. He had lost to North Texas, and he also lost to App State, we haven't seen yet on mine. He has a couple losses against some really decent opponents, and he also has some solid wins, and he's undefeated in conference. Right. Well, he lost obviously this week, but during his rankings, he was undefeated. So I'm still high on Ajami. That's why I'm at 11.
All right, at number 10. This is where I have Ajami. Same thing as Utah State. 3-0. He was undefeated in conference. I know he took a loss since then, but him, UNLV, and Utah State were the only undefeated teams in conference, and had been winning a lot of games. So had to give him credit where that was. I know he took a big loss to Oregon State in the college game day, which is going to knock him back, but still has everything in front of him. I think he has one loss in conference, so he just needs things to go his way. If he beats a couple of people, he can find himself in the conference championship.
Yep. At number 10, I have Arkansas State. He's playing really well right now. Really has that team going. Gave me hell. Came down to the last play of the game where I was taking a knee. So he has a couple. He has a big win over ECU, who we haven't seen yet. Really has that team going. Hopefully, he can keep going. I know we've seen in the past where when he loses a game or two, he kind of falls off, but I think he'll keep him going.
Yeah, I have him here as well. That's why I skipped ahead. I have him at 9. Definitely a problem in that Wildcat. He uses that a lot, and it's going to give people hell if they don't know how to adjust to it. If you go watch his game, he uses it a lot. And I'm sure when he plays on road to playoff, he uses it a lot. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you use something and it's working, then I wouldn't steer away from it. I mean, if you're winning, you're winning. I'm not going to discredit anybody for doing that. At the end of the day, it's in the game, so use it. He's 5-3, 3-2 in conference. He still has a chance to get to the conference championship game. He just needs to knock off some people and have some kind of cannibalism go on in the MAC. But one of the surprise teams, I think, being at 5-3 right now, he has a chance to finish with 8-9 wins, and can get a really good job offer. So shout out to Zach. Definitely more improved since last year, most improved since last year. And glad to see that you're kind of finally putting it all together.
At number 9, I have myself, 5-3, 4-1 in conference. I feel like I'm starting to find my momentum a little bit. I think I'm 4-1 or something since the last ranking. I did fall to North Texas, but I'm coming off a win against Arkansas State. Just got to kind of figure it out. Starting to learn our identity a little bit and see what we can do from here. We got 2 hard games coming up. 3 actually. I do play Tulane as well. So I got my next 3 games is UTSA, La Tech, and Tulane. So that kind of really test this Jacksonville State team and see where we're at.
All right, at number 8, this is where I have Liberty. This was, in my opinion, the number 1 team. At 6-0 after Toledo lost. I thought that he had the best resume, and he loses 2 games, which is very tough. I think that's a stumbling there. The season's not over, obviously, but I think that was a big confidence hit for Josh or Coach Westside, because you're at the top of the mountain and then you lose to Coach Fredo, who has been the bottom. He's been, you were at the summit and he was at the base of the mountain for a very long time in BYO. So definitely a big time loss. And it sucks because I felt like if there was a person that I want to see have the success, it was him, because he's always done his recaps. He's always kind of been consistent with everything. So to see Coach Westside up at the top, winning week in and week out, getting the big wins, and then to see him lose was heartbreaking, to be honest. But I mean, the season's still a long way to go. He could finish double-digit wins, get to a really good bowl game, possibly win the American. So I'm excited to see how he kind of bounces back from these losses and turns it into a positive.
At number 8, this is where I have App State. I'm still pretty high on him. He does have some really good wins. He has the Toledo win, obviously. He had the Nevada win early. He lost to, he had the Temple loss last week, but his other loss in conference came to a Coastal Carolina, who is flaming hot right now. So despite the back-to-back losses, his resume still kind of sticks out a little bit over the 3-loss teams right now. I'm still kind of high on him. He'll figure it out. I'm really high on this conference. As you can tell, we still have a lot of American teams that haven't popped up yet. So,
all right, number 7. This is where I have Tulane, 5-2, 3-1 in conference. Very, very hard to judge this team. I know he just had a big loss to UTSA this week, which has nothing to do with these rankings. But I do think Tulane is still a force in the conference at 3-2 now in conference, at 5-3 overall, because I think he can hang with anybody. I think he's a trap game. And I know that he was not looked at to be very high in this conference when you look at early in the season, the conference standing projections, and he's completely smashed those so far. So he's definitely a team to look out for, hence why he's still a top 10 coming into this week. So I'm excited to see how his season ends up. I know he has a lot of work to do as far as just staying consistent, being able to hang with the guys that are in the top of the conference. So I think he's going to be able to kind of turn that around.
Yep. At number 7, this is where it's lagging a little bit. This is where I have Liberty. Um, Yeah, man. He was undefeated. He gets two tough losses. The App State, I mean, the Army loss obviously hurt him a little bit. I expected him to bounce back. He had Coastal the next week, and just the kind of the way that that game went, I think it was 61-8. Hopefully, he can figure it out. This is one of those situations where you see a team that starts off really hot, and then once they get that first loss, their season kind of like starts to take a hit a little bit. Hopefully, that's not the situation for Coach Westside right here. But I think he will kind of bounce back. This is a tough conference. So even the Army can get you. Anybody that he plays in this conference from now on is probably is capable of getting him. It's just how you answer from this point on.
All right, at number 6, this is where I have Jack State, 5-3, 4-1. Think sorry, here my son. I think you were 1-2 in the last rankings, if I'm not mistaken. So 4-1 since then. All of those games coming in conference. And I think conference play is what matters in college football. It doesn't matter if you're 0-4 and you're undefeated in conference. You're going to get to the conference championship. Look at Utah State. I think he was 0-3 or 0-4, and he's the number one team in our conference because he's won all his conference games. So at the end of the day, conference play is what matters. And so far, Brandon has been 4-1 in conference. He has a really big game next week against UTSA in the game of the week, College Game Day, which I think can define both of their seasons. I think if Brandon loses that game, he's going to struggle to get to conference championship. And I think if he wins that game, I think he pencils himself into the conference championship. So I'm interested to see how that game goes. Number 6 for me for Brandon.
At number 6, this is where I have Tulane. I think he's just playing really good football. He did have that Texas State loss, what was pretty bad, but the only other loss came to a Florida team. He has some solid wins, and the wins that he does have, it's not really that close. He's been kind of getting after his opponents, and I just kind of have to just kind of give him some respect where it's due. I feel like he's just playing really good football right now. I had a big win over Rice. And he's got that team rolling right now. Obviously, we just seen him get hammered this week, but it's nowhere near the end of the football season.
All right, number 5. This is where I have ECU and Coach Sterling, another team that was 1-2 in the first power rankings, and now he's 4-1, 3-1 in conference. The one loss was to Coastal, and the other loss was to Zach in week 0. So he's 5-1 in his last 6 games. I had to give credit for that. I don't remember where I had him in the first rankings, but I know it was like somewhere between 9 and 15, I think 9 and 16, maybe right around that middle of the road area. And he's catapulted his way up the charts because he's been on a winning streak. He's been constantly trending upwards, and you have to give credit for that. I think if I'm not mistaken, he's 6-2 now and 4-1. I could be wrong. I don't remember if the Temple game was a part of this. It was not actually because they played today. So he's definitely 6-2 and 4-1 now. So he has, in a spot where he can control his own destiny to get into the conference championship game, and he's kind of looking like his old self again. I know starting off 1-2 was an eye opener for him, and then he had the big win. He might start off 1-1 now that I think about it, because
Yeah,
I know
he had Clemson week 2, and he won.
yeah. But I mean, whatever the case was, I know that win against Clemson kind of gave him the confidence again to continue winning. So, shout out to Sterling, and I expect him to be in the conference championship, barring something crazy happening. I mean, I think you have 4 games left. 5 of your games are completed in conference. It would need something really crazy for him to not be in the conference championship at this point.
Yeah. At number 5, this is where I have ECU at as well. He's, like you said, trending upwards. He bounced back, started getting to his old self again. Really, just one of the hottest teams right now. And it's I think he's on a 5-game winning streak or something like that. Or 4 because he did play already in the solid ranking. So in this one, he's on a 4-game winning streak. And yeah, I mean, this conference is really tough. I mean, 3-1, like you said, kind of might seem like he's shouldn't miss it, but you got 2 people that's undefeated in conference, and I don't think he might play both of them. He played one already, but I think he might have to play Navy in the future, so that might decide that last spot. This, like I said, this conference is really crazy, and y'all see as we keep going.
All right, at number 4, this is where I have myself. I was number 5 on my rankings last week. Dropped a game to Utah State. Y'all saw Utah State is the number 1 team in the Mountain West right now. Lost that game by a touchdown, I think. 49-42, if I'm not mistaken. Then ended up beating UNLV the following week. And then I beat Washington State yesterday. I don't remember if that was a part of the rankings, though.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah. Just UNLV. So I was able to kind of bounce back from that loss, get a tough, gritty win on the road by 3 against UNLV. who I have at number 12 or 14 in this ranking, number 14. So still trying to figure out our identity. I've been saying this the whole time. We're 7 games in, well, 8 games in now, and we've used 4 playbooks. So we need to figure it out. I mean, I think me being 7-1 using 4 playbooks is a success in its own, and it's a win for me. Because every single game has been a grind. No matter who I played against, it's been a grind. So definitely got to figure out offensive identity. Defense, I think we're fine, but offensively, we need to figure it out. So I have myself at 4.
Yeah, number 4. This is where I have San Jose State as well. The loss to Utah State kind of did it for me. A lot of the teams that we're going to start talking about right now are really hot right now. And like you said, 4 playbooks is kind of tough, but kind of you'll get it going. On to the next one.
All right, we have the same person at 3, so I'm gonna let you talk first.
Number 3, this is where I have Navy. Yeah, he's playing lights out right now. He just came off a win to that Notre Dame team. I want to be able to see him against that Coastal, that ECU, App State, Liberty. I want to kind of see him play against those bigger guys in the American. But right now, that conference is hot. You got to give them their respect. And I have Navy at number 3.
And he is about to be 7-0, 3-0. He's up on Western Kentucky 17 in the fourth quarter. Undefeated, obviously. We still have somebody else in the American that we haven't talked about. And obviously, that team is not undefeated. So there's going to be some conversations there that goes there. But yeah, that's where I have him as well. We have the same person at number 2, and this is where it gets fun. I'm going to talk first because I know people are going to ask, how is the number 1 or 8-0 team, 6-0 conference, the number 1 team on in a lot of people's eyes at number 2. I don't think it's strictly based off the O, because we just saw Navy undefeated at 6-0 behind this person as well. I think what the deciding factor for me was in putting him at 2 and putting Coastal at 1 is the resumes. I think Savage's best win is Western Kentucky. And Western.
Zach.
I'm sorry, he was Western Kentucky last year. That's why I said Western Kentucky. His best win is Zach and Arkansas State. And Arkansas State is 5-3. Coastal has wins over ECU. He has wins over JMU. And he has a win over, what was the third team?
He has a huge win over Liberty. That's kind of what did it for me. The 61-8 win over him. He beat ECU on the road. That's tough. He's 6-2. We both called Sterling out at number 5. He has App State, who's obviously number 8 for me. He has 3 top 10 wins. And it's more like I said earlier, I treated them like the SEC. That's kind of why ECU is number 1 for me. When you play such a hard conference schedule and you have gauntlets, we've seen it with Florida State get bounced out by Alabama. That's kind of like the best example you can give. This conference is loaded. They have some of the best users in the league. I mean, when you're running through them like he's doing it, it's just, you got to give him his respect. Everybody was hot on Zay from the jump. His only loss is on the road at Clemson. And he is dominating a conference that everybody in this league was struggling right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't close for me to decide who's number 1, because I think Savage being 8-0 and now 9-0, and only having a few close games was big for me. But it's the strength of record and strength of schedule. Coastal Carolina has wins over a lot of people, and he's been on Game of the Week a lot of times. He's shined in those moments. So I think that's the reason why I have Zay here at number 1.
I think if Tulane might have been on UTSA schedule before this, I probably would have kind of kept the edge to Savage. But I think the way if that game wasn't on there, obviously, and it was Zach versus 3 top 5 or 10 users, I mean, he's in his bag right now. I punished him a lot last week, and I was like punching myself in the face on the rankings last time because I thought he was a lot better. And to see him come back, and his offense is like one of the most explosive offenses we've seen. And Liberty was a number 1 user in the league, he was number 1 on yours, I think.
Yeah.
And he was like 2 or 3 for me. And then, I mean, he had a big win over JMU or whatever it was. And then we was like, he's a number 1 now because he had a big win. And then to go in and get blasted by 60 something points. Yeah, go back in there. And then get blasted by 600 points. I mean, this dude's on a roll right now. You just kind of have to give him his respect. And there's no knock to Savage. I mean, he's playing
No.
lights out football perfect. It just kind of like you got the strength of conference. It's not even the schedule. The conference here is just like they got the SEC treatment. That's just what it is.
Yeah, so in the top 10, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in the American in the top 10. Then you have another one. So you have five teams in the top 15 are in the American, and in the Mountain West there's only 1, 2, 3, there's 4, there's 5 as well. But I mean,
I
Utah
mean,
State,
I
Colorado
feel like
State,
the
and UNLV
drop
are
time of
11.
happens a lot
Yeah.
quicker.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I'm excited to see how the season shakes out. I think either of Coastal, Navy, and UTSA are the 3 teams that are kind of vying for that playoff spot at this
And I
point.
don't even think Navy and Coastal Carolina even have to play each other.
Yeah,
Um,
so
I might have to go check that right quick, but I
well,
think their ride is kind of like clear because I don't see Coastal. I mean, yeah,
yeah, so I mean
Coastal
they both.
doesn't even play Navy at all. He has Toledo, Temple, Western Kentucky, and Army, and he'll be favored in every one of those games.
Who has them?
Uh, that's Coastal. Toledo, his last 4 games is Toledo, Temple,
Does
Western
Navy
Kentucky.
play ECU?
Um,
Because that Navy ECU game is going to decide who gets in then.
yeah, they play week 13, so
Yeah, so I mean that'll be a game of the week type game.
yeah, that will.
But shout out to Coastal, shout out to Savage, shout out to everybody else on the list. Like I said, this will probably be our last power rankings for the season, depending on how fast we move. Just because there's no point to do a rankings in bowl week. There's just not.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to everybody. Thank you guys for showing up. We're going to be advancing probably here in the next 2 hours or so, 3 hours, depending on when these last games get played. Make sure you guys schedule up. Make sure you guys go vote on the game of the week. It's going to be Brandon and Savage. So that game's going to decide a lot in the MAC. So make sure you guys go do that. And we will see you guys in the chat. Peace out, y'all.